and we are going and we're gone. We're live. So I wanted to answer this question. I was going through the comments, and I'm not going to say who mentioned it, but his first is All. So Mr. All, we'll call him because there's more to it. But Mr. All was saying, from what I kind of understand, he was saying it sounds like he's got 6 years of experience, and we're talking about those like sliding doors, like you see at you see at a grocery store, you see at a lumber, the big box stores, things of that nature, right? And I figured I do have a little bit of input on this. I'm definitely not an expert by any means on this, but I wanted to throw in my 2 cents a little bit. So he says, how to start a company, 6 years experience, no competition in town. And I thought we were kind of talking about maybe garage doors of a sort. So I said, how many people live in the town, right? Because it's different now that I get older and more age on me. Hey, Mr. Garage Door, 67. Hello. And thanks for being here. So, anyways, I kind of go off the town, right? Because there's a lot of people, some of these places people are like, oh, I got 6,000 people in my town. And it's like, whew, man, that's a hard demographic. You know what I mean? That's like saying I'm going to be the best attorney in a small town. That's going to be hard. So I asked him, well, he says he's got like 120. That's a good number, man. 120K, 120,000 people. He says my trade background is automatic sliding doors, access control, and gates. A giant company just bought our company. Current company charges a premium because nobody else in town does commercial doors or commercial automatic doors. I think this is awesome. So here's the thing. When I started out, I don't know, I was probably in business for maybe about 2 or 3 years. And I noticed when I was walking around our local, any of our grocery stores and that, they always, I think this one was called like Great Lakes Automatic something, they had their little sticker on there. And so actually I started competing with them. It didn't go so well. So I started competing with them, and there was some things that I learned. And so maybe this can kind of give you some insight or something maybe you haven't thought about. The first thing I noticed, there is so many different manufacturers out there. It's insane. I mean, there's like Horman, there's Holton, there's Stanley, the list goes really deep. I mean, it's bad. And it might have changed a little bit because, like I said, this was many years ago. And nowadays, we actually have possibly the power of the internet, where you can, stuff is becoming more free on the internet, right? In a sense, you can find it on eBay, you can find it on. When I was doing it, I literally had to go to the manufacturer and I would have to like beg and plead, right? And they would typically direct me to who my local, um, person that dealt with them, dealer, right? Which was basically my competition. So, that was kind of, you know what I mean? It's really awkward, you know what I mean? Because they're going to mark it up. Sometimes they're fair about it, but you're also taking a customer away from them, so you don't have really like top priority, right? You're kind of the low man. So it was really, really tough. They still are typically the ones that end up, you know, deal with all of it pretty much. And so I kind of bounced out of it because I used to do, um, I was dealing with, we did like Menards. And with Menards, the one thing I noticed, which I really hated about the industry about that, was that you had to deal with people. And people wanted to, like, I would barricade the sliding doors, right? And I think we used to have one that was so worn out, right? And you explain to them, hey, you really need to replace this whole setup. And they're like, well, can we just, can we get it running? We got a big sale coming up, and it's like, all right, well, the people, right? You'd open a man door and you'd literally, like you'd open a man door and they wouldn't even go through the man door. They like go under the tape. And it's like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, can't you see I got the cover off this thing? I'm working here. Like, I mean, this could fall on you, it could hurt you. I'm gonna get a lawsuit. So um I didn't like it at all. I definitely would I'd rather work on gates. So if I was you, especially starting, I'd probably deal more with gates. If you're talking, um, you know, I don't know if you're talking like gate operators or if you're talking more like the security gates. I did do that quite a bit, and I got a lot of calls, but I kind of found it's not so hard to diagnose and do technical stuff and that, but it was super hard to get the parts. That's what takes a long time. And I honestly don't know, like, I mean, you think about the levels of it, right? You think about the levels of garage doors, right? Or garage door openers, right? You go to the box store, right? You can go to Lowe's, you can go to Home Depot, you can go get a garage door opener off the shelf, right? You can't go get an or a motor, for an automatic sliding door anywhere. You know what I mean? So you have to have like a huge overhead of product. And that was where we were kind of going, where it was like we had to order extra of this stuff. And then it was like we had to get into the account. And then, a lot of these places have contracts or they're using like maybe like a third party where they'll call that third party and they'll just dispatch out somebody, or they're automatically already in. So it was definitely a very niche um it was a very niche industry. And I learned really quick that I said, you know what, I don't even like this. I don't like the fact that it seemed very dark. Everybody was really like, who are you? Where are you from? What city are you located in? Like, what's your address? What's your children's names? You know what I mean? Like it just felt like a cult, you know what I mean? And I don't know how to explain it, but it was just so like didn't want to be a part of it. I just said, you know what, I think I'm just gonna get out of here, especially when I had to deal with people. Because what are you gonna do? For me, it was like, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna come here after hours, 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock at night to work on this thing? And you know how it was, this stuff would break. There's a million people coming in and out and they want it fixed. And they're, oh my gosh, the door's not working right now, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, all right, you crack it open, it's got worn out bushings, bearings. I mean, there's a whole list of things. Now, obviously, since you've been doing it, sure, but it's one of those things that I look at it honestly. If it was me, I kind of go, I would probably just keep working for them. You know what I mean? Like, why so what you're going to get, you got to store all this stuff, you got to buy all this product, you got to get in with and the thing is maybe, maybe you're young into it, right? And this has got to be something that, I mean, you're like super passionate about. It's not money. You know what I mean? It turns into, I love this. You know what I mean? Like, I want my kids to do this. Like, I want my kids to my grandkids to do this. Like, this is going to be that's almost like a very generational business. You know what I mean? Like, because that's, man, it's going to take you. You're going to be the one that cuts the path, and you got to hope that who comes behind you is going to keep maintaining that path and also grow and make it bigger and better and safer and all these other things. I mean, that's just, it could definitely, I could see where it can consume you in that. And I just don't think that's where I was like, I'm not going down this. This is ridiculous. The other guys can have it. They got the technicians. They already got they've been, I forget how many years, but it was like, when I heard the background, it was like, I think they were like the third generation. And I'm like, they're the third generation into this business. I mean, like, yeah, I'm good. Oh, we service. Oh, yeah. Oh, man, Tanner, I'm glad you jumped in, man. I'm liking this. Like I said, it was kind of late. I jumped on here. It was last minute. I was just reading the comments. I was like, I'm going to make a video about this. But Menards, yeah, buddy. Menards, they run the broke. They got, you're on their garden doors. Ooh, the bifold ones. We've worked on the bifold ones. All the cables are shot. Yep. Menards was Menards was like, I don't know how to explain it. I think kind of like in life, you go through these levels. You know what I mean? And when you first start out, like I said, it's all, you're just happy the phone rings, right? And then you start kind of getting wiser, and I almost think it's like people take advantage of you and you don't even know it, right? Because I get older now, right? And I get these young kids, right? And they're just like, I'll dig that hole. I'll dig that hole so fast. And I'm like, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, macho. Go right ahead. Go dig that hole. Oh, look at those muscles. Yeah. Take your shirt off if you want. Go ahead. Dig that hole, man. You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm like, mind over muscle. You know what I mean? Like, go ahead, go dig, boy. You know what I mean? And that's just how it is, right? I was one of them too, right? Hey, I'm never gonna get old. My back's never gonna hurt. I can lift 3 bags of concrete at once. You know what I mean? What do you want done? Like we'll get this done. But you start realizing that you're like, your body, all these things. But anyways, with Menards, so they would always buy their springs, right? Because they can. So then you go there, right? And it's always like, what do they call it? Door number 10, I think is what it is. That always go bad. They revamped the stuff, at least at our Menards. And so you end up, do you clamp it? You get there, you can't clamp it, right? Because the spring blew up. So then it turns into, you're supposed to use. So Tanner, do you have this problem? We're supposed to use their lift. And I found out very quickly that their lift is not safe because it's that one that I don't know what the word is called for it, but you stand up on it and you put the harness on and then you got that platform. Well, the problem is the cage, it hits the ceiling. So you can't get up high enough to do what you need to do for springs. And when you're dealing with big 6-inch springs, you're over your head, just, trying to slide them on, and you got somebody and you're basically on a diving board. So it was just, we had to bring our own scissor lift in, which they wouldn't pay for it. So we had to charge them extra hours. There's all these games we had to play. You have to make sure you get a PO, make sure you get that PO. Cause that was always hard too. The guys would, they wouldn't get the PO sometimes, cause they're just whatever, right? Hey, I get paid for today. I get my paycheck. And, I'm always like, they come back. I'm like, you get a PO? Oh no. You take your happy butt and drive right back over there and you get a PO today. While the manager is right there because we are not going to not get paid. I'm broke. They got me this year on, yes, the garden doors. They were changing those out. So I wasn't working on them. We were doing like openers and stuff like that, but we kind of got fuzzed out. I can't find it, but I actually got a picture of who they're using now. And it's like this dude in like a beat up truck, which is whatever, I don't really have no problem with that. Right. But the scissor lift, I swore it was my old scissor lift. And so I'm like sitting there staring at those guys, I was in there shopping and I just like, I didn't even feel bad. I was just like, I'm so glad you guys are doing this and not me. Cause I got beat up with them so many times and the managers would change. And I just, it seemed like they never wanted to pay or the pay was always late. It's because I don't know, they take 60, 90 days to pay out. It paid the bills. It was one of those things. But now we've advanced and we got other customers that I'm like, I don't know, how you'll start learning how you start going, everybody experiences, everybody's this different, right? Every location, everything's different. But you realize that you go, I've outgrown this. Like we have customers now that if they were like, would you come work for, do stuff? Nah, I'm good. Nope. We'll go pick up pop cans. Love hate. So as I say, 8 on cable while people were moving cones and getting mad. Oh my gosh, man. People have no clue what they're doing, man. It's like you drop a wrench, a hammer, a winding bar, the door comes down. Unexpectedly things happen. It's gnarly. People they don't care, man. They're trying to get it fixed so they could open it outside. Big pain. Yeah, I tell you, I don't know why they do that stuff. That's horrible. People, man, it's like, and those are like those jobs that when you get there in the moment, right? Like nobody else understands, right? your wife, your friends, your kids, your dog. Nobody understands. And you're sitting there doing the whole thing like, holy crap. Like I need another guy here right now. Like I need two up in the lift. I need, and I need one down the ground. That's the dude that's like, the bodybuilder that's like, don't you dare think about moving that cone. I put this tape up for a reason. Keep your happy ass out of here. You know what I mean? Just because, and then you're like, I can't, how am I going to bill for that? You know what I mean? Are they going to pay it? Are they going to approve it when I put it on there? We had 3 men. It took us, we charged for each man hour. So it's this much. But that was even like with those sliding doors, right? Same thing. It was like we block them off. We'd literally open up a door, try to like direct people that way, and they're like going under the tape. And it's like, what are you doing? So it's like you're trying to focus on your job, but yet you have to deal with, these people going on your tape. So safety issues here, and it's like, dude, man, if something hits you, then they're going to be the first one. What? I can't believe this happened. Yeah, well, make sure you go in there and talk to Menards. Don't talk to me. And Menards, how that supervisor can come out. Got a problem here. Who's going to pay for this? Are you talking about sliding? So it sounds like Mr. All, which I'm sure he's not here, but he'll see this. I'll message him and let him know that I replied to his comment. He was talking, it sounds like to me that he was talking about sliding doors, like on storefronts. And he said sliding gates, which I don't know for sure if he meant sliding gates, like commercial sliding gates, like what I deal with the cantilevers for vehicles, or if he's talking about like security gates a little bit. And, I also did the security gates. You can get them from like Granger and stuff like that. But I just kept running into so many people like would never bite, right? It's like the internet has opened up that too, because now they can see the prices too, right? So it's like they'll go online and they're like, this is like $600, and why are you charging me $3,000? And I'm like, well, I mean, we got to put anchors in here. We got to spend a whole day. We got to direct your people from walking in and out of here. We got to make sure this thing slides. It's, so basically what I was trying to get at with this video was that, the reason why I decided not to deal with the sliding, because the vendors were horrible. I mean, they were just absolutely, and there were so many of them. And the problem is that there's so many different ones installed, like in our town. You got, like I said, you got Stanley, you got, where is it? Holton, I think is one of them. The list goes on. And so, and then trying to get a hold of them, and then you could hire a full-time person just to be your parts manager. You know what I mean? And then trying to get in there, it just felt, it was like, I think I'd rather be a roofer or a landscaper, honestly. Like I look at it and I go, it's less headache. It's, because, well, how do I explain this? Humans, right? It's kind of one of those weird things, right? I always like teach my kids, right? I say, hey, other people have your money, right? So you gotta deal with general public and stuff like that. But people are so, demographics are so different on people. You get some that are cool, you get some that are real jerks, you get some that are super picky. So like I think about it like what I always say is like when I do fencing, right? If I do chain link, cyclone, whatever you want to call it, chain link fencing, there is like so much less human interaction, right? Because they're not walking down that whole fence line. But I literally have to charge the material, I have to charge the labor to install it, right? And maybe they're dealing with like a gate, right? But it doesn't have electricity. So we're not dealing like, I mean, the levels, right? So you take out power outages, right? They're not going to call you when the power goes out. And they go, hey, my gate's, not working. What do you mean? It's a manual push gate. It never, it could be twisted. They could be little problems. Don't get me wrong. But it's just amazing to me. Like if you can take out the human, that's where it can really stall you a lot, because you can be a really good technician and you might have all your stuff together. You got your truck perfect, just like the firemen. And all it takes is that customer to be like, it's making a noise. And I think you should come take a look at it. And you're like, oh, I am buried right now with work. And I know it's hard to believe that when you're first starting out, because right now you just want the phone to ring. But eventually that time will come, and um, that's why I always call it like the vortex, because it starts out real small and then it starts getting bigger, and you're at a point like where you're like going, oh, this is great, this is great. And then it starts getting bigger, and also now it's starting to suck in the cars, it's starting to suck in the kids, the wife, it's starting to suck in the house, and you're going, holy crap, I can't even, and now you're, fighting with the wife, you're miserable, you're upset, your customers are calling you, they got problems, when are you going to be here? And now you start, engaging with, maybe you got to bring workers or something like that, so things can just kind of level up, if that makes any sense. I told them, no, I use my own lifts, Tanner, and they order all their own stuff. They ask me how much and how fast, of course. How fast can you do it? I can get it, and what does it say? And I tell them they get it like a month or longer than when I could. Yeah, it's I don't know. I used to have the direct number, because when I started with them, I ended up, I'd go in there and buy parts or something, whatever, and you know, springs sometimes, the easy set springs, whatever. And then I made a relationship with the lady that was there, and then she got me kind of in, and we started working for them. And then we just slowly, I mean, we had I think it was like, I remember the worst kind of was like an opener, and they wanted this thing working right. It's their back delivery room, whatever. And we finally got to the point where, like, look, you need a new opener. I mean, you flat out need a new opener. And they order this opener, and they call us, and they say it's in. And so it's that whole thing. We block off, 2, 4, 6 hours of the day, and we go there with another guy. We get there, and it was an MJ instead of a J, and they already originally had a J up there. So at bare minimum, you got to put a J back up, right? Liftmaster, and now you got an MJ. No, I mean, like, and so now they're just all like, "What do you mean? Who ordered this?" I mean, it's like, look, if you would have just got it from us, we would have had it, we would have provided it, we would have installed it, and we'd be done with this. But now we're here, we got the lift, the trucks, like the tools, and you got the wrong opener. Guess we'll see you in another week or two. Whenever you get your shipment in, let us know. And it just seemed like you seem like a disappointment. Like you can just never, please them. And it just started kind of getting where it was like, we got so many other customers that want to pay us more money. And it's like, we just don't need to do this anymore. We need to be gone. That's what happens. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't realize it till when I was starting out the business, right? I'd get these phone calls. Oh my gosh, you answer your phone. And I thought, I'm going to own the world. Well, you realize why the other companies, because they got, they just don't care, and honestly, in my business, it's the same. It's not, we don't care. It's just that it's those layers, right? We just, it's like one of those things, honestly. If you were there, right, and somebody says, well, one person says, well, I'll pay you $50 an hour. But then the other person over, next door or whatever says, I'll pay you $100 an hour. Where are you going to go? You're going to go to $100 an hour. And so it's just, that's what it turns into, where it's like, and you start realizing with customers that this is problematic, and we're all the time we're spending here, we're showing up, they don't got the right product, they're screwing things up. We just can't deal with this, because we got other customers we could go take care of. So automatic sliding doors. Let's see. Says that they put display way to close bifold doors. What does it say? Bifold doors could not get the 3219 scissor lift in between displays. Ooh, door not thinking need to be survived. So I had to bring it in. That is nice about a scissor lift. That's why we got two different ones, because if you have one that, I learned that's why I bought the original one a long time ago, the upright. think it was an upright. And it was because I knew already that thing went through man doors. And so we had a couple of situations where broken springs, whatever. And it's like, hey, open that man door, slide in there. Says electric boom lift, an electric boom lift to reach over plant display. Holy cow. And shelving units. Oh my gosh. I think I remember, I think I was just in there not too long ago and they got some kind of weird, they got stuff up to it. Just told them never again. Unless they move everything back. I like the people who work there. It's the only reason I go back. Yeah. Hey, and like I said, it's, hey, if you're putting food on the table, that's all that matters, man. You know what I mean? And if it works for you, and like I said, it's everybody's situation is different. I just tell you guys this stuff for knowledge, you know what I mean, for experience and just something I might enlighten you with, because like I said, what is it, 16 years I've been in this game, and there was just, like I said, there was no opportunity to talk to somebody that's been through this, and I learned through the school of hard knocks. And it's really, it's unfortunate because I definitely lost a lot of money. I've made some money, but I've lost a lot of money. And there's just a lot of things, like, it's weird when you get to, I don't know if it's just with age or if it's just with years of experience, but you know how I look at things, and I don't look at it like competition, or I don't look at it like bitterness. I just grin, So like I go in there and I like to look, and like I said, when those guys were there working, I was checking out what they're doing, and I mean, they're totally not up to our level to some degree. Just, you know, wife beaters. I mean, just very unprofessional looking. And I thought, well, that's kind of what you get. I mean, that's what they are looking for price. They're absolutely looking for price. And is it like, hey, it's not bad being there, especially if you got a vehicle or you got a shirt on or advertisement. I mean, there's people looking, there's people there buying garage doors and stuff. Um, it's just eventually we had to work our way kind of out of there, because they seem like, of course, they wanted us to be there at a drop of a hat. And then I even expanded out. I ended up just started doing, I think, one more location. Yeah, I think it was one more location. And that's where it started getting a little squirrely, because it was about 45 minutes uh, one way from the shop. And it was, and the thing is, they want you to sign in that book, so they're already checking, so sometimes I'd even try to squeeze it a little bit, it's like, six, or whatever, it's 110 right now, I'll put 1 o'clock, what I mean, just trying to squeeze, them a little bit more, because hey, we had to bring a lift down there, and the guy that I worked with at the time, we'd bring a lunch, and I remember he smoked cigarettes, and so I just tell him, I was like, hey man, we'll sit in the truck, man, listen to the radio. I was like, you want to smoke another cigarette? I said, because we got to put some time in, you know what I mean? And we literally do, because we're clocking in and we're clocking out on their book, and they're going to look at that when we send them the bill, because we got to get a PO. So, I mean, we literally and that was a hard mindset, because in the garage door business, we've always been, at least with AFD, we've always been just, it's go, 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 man, knock out that job, get that spring done, move on to the next customer. And that's been ingrained into the business. I'm not proud of that, but that's just how it's been. And so for us to go there, and it's like, just to put our shoulders down, and it's like, yeah, here's a winding bar. Here's a can of spray lube. Put that on the lift, and uh, let's go in for a few minutes and whatever, almost do some shopping, when the manager's walking around and they're like, what are you doing? And they're like, mm, just wasting time like an employee. I ain't got nothing. I got to bill you. You know? So it was just a different animal. And it's funny because I go in there and I can see it like in the guys' faces. There's like some younger kids, and they'll see me. And it's like, I don't know if they don't really quite connect, but it's like their eyes will light up, and they almost like they want to come to me and be like, hey man, you used to do our garage doors. Will you come back, please? You did such a good job. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Don't make eye contact. Don't make eye contact. Because it's like, I don't know what to say. You know what I mean? Like, we don't like you. You don't like us. What? We don't like you. It's not you personally. It's kind of the business. It's just they want us to do risky things. They want us to do unsafe things. I don't think they really value safety here. I mean, you think about it, right? You already think about how Menards, like, they don't barricade, far as I know, anything off, right? But then you go to, what is it, like Lowe's and Home Depot, right? They're out there with the flags, and they're out there blocking the aisle when you're sitting there looking at something you need, and you're like, "Can I go in?" They're like, "No." And you're like, "Mm, I need something." Real pain in the butt, right? But there, it's like kind of a free for all. Sorry, Menards gets under my skin a little bit. It was good. It was good, man. It works. Paid the bills at the time. Let's see here. Electric boom. Yes. Town. What does it say? Town, small area. We know everyone. So I don't think of it as a big box store. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, Menards, when it started over here, it was the only one. It was like they built it like in a blueberry field. And now the mall built up. I mean, it's huge over that area. And my dad always told me, he says, malls have a shelf life. And he was right. So I think it's 10, 12 something years, maybe 15. And the mall is like dead. I mean, there's Sears is gone. I mean, it's just Yonkers is gone. I think JC Penney's gone. I mean, I think there's only like Dick's Sporting Goods, and then I don't know what they're turning into now. Like, you go in there, it's just a bunch of riffraff kids that are doing bad stuff. Not a good area. We don't go to it. So let's see. Big box store, I think, it's my community's place of work. That's cool. And try to help them out. Get paid 45. Yes. And more. Yes. 45 days. Yep. No, that's cool. Like I said, everything you got to do. It's just like, people probably, think like, maybe I don't like the, residential garage doors, resis, I call them resi people. I don't have nothing against resis. I mean, there's always a time for them. When commercial starts slowing down, you pick up on residential. It's just, commercial is hard to get into, very hard. And you got to keep them, your residential, like, I have very few in my head. I think of one community, maybe, that we had that the lady would use us, and otherwise most time, I mean, they would call you, but they're just, they're not faithful. You know what I mean? It's uh, you know, and like I said, it's like one of those things you get kind of if you do a good job for residential, right? That's only one job, one house, one structure, one property, and like, you don't get a call back, which is good on one aspect, right? Because you don't want to call back. It costs you more money, blah blah blah, your time, if you did something wrong. But like with commercial, they typically have multiple doors. So you do a good job on this one. The other one's going to break next to it not too long later. And then you're like, hey, this guy showed up. He did good service. And here's a pro tip for you guys. If you I see this a lot. If you work for commercial is a different animal, and you got to make sure you got safety in mind. Especially some of these places, because like, you need to have the high vis, you need to wear the harnesses, you need to wear the hard hats, you need to put the safety glasses on. I trust me, I know firsthand. My business partner absolutely hated it. I mean, it messed up his hair. He absolutely hated it. And but you have to understand that these people are watching you. And one of these places I worked at, I remember, they would literally I remember they would what was it? They were almost like paid to rat you out. You know what I'm saying? So you just got to work safe, and you got to slow down. You know what I mean? Because it's a different animal, bigger stuff, hydraulics, scissor lifts, forklifts, a lot of cables, a lot of springs under tension. It can be very dangerous, very dangerous. So you got to work a lot safer and a lot slower. How about the residential side slide doors? Have you ever installed any? Okay, Mark. So I see you're kind of going on this. How about residential side slide doors? So are you talking like, what is it called? Like a patio door? Is that what you're talking about? It's like on somebody's back porch. One window stays stationary while the other one, is that what kind of slide doors you're talking? Um, because I have done a few of those with my uncle. Um, and I was kind of piggybacked off him at the time a little bit for some of that stuff. So I wasn't like the lead guy on it, but I guess the one thing I want to explain why maybe Mark gets back to me on that is that anything that's door related, right? I personally think garage doors are more forgiving. Personally, they're more forgiving than even a man door, right? Because a man door, I look at it and you physically have to touch the handle and you have to open it, right? And y- like if you ever done a man door, it's like if it's crooked or anything, like the door will swing open on its own. It might run into a like a closet door, or it might want to shut on its own. It won't stay open, right? And I mean, these are all those things that like a homeowner picks up on, you know what I mean? Or, so like they let they're so used to the old door, they'd open it all the way, they let it sit, they let the kids out to go to school. And now this thing keeps closing on me and I can't see the bus. It keeps closing on me. It's driving me nuts. I know it sounds really petty, but these are the things that happen. I had one we installed, a swinging man door, and I remember, it wasn't quite sealed, right? I didn't have it sealed tough, but the reason I didn't have it sealed tough is it was really draggy, like, I mean, really hard dragging. And I got the guy called, and then my uncle said, "Hey, could you go back out there and take a look at it?" I looked at it and I told him, I said, the threshold has screws to bring it up higher. I said, if I bring those up, I said, it's going to drag really hard. I said, I'm worried it's going to compromise the seal. And he goes, I don't care. He goes, you know, I got a new door because I want it to be sealed. I don't want to draft. And it's like, and I'm looking at like, yeah, but you're gonna call me out and say it's dragging too hard, and I don't know how I'm gonna fix this. Like I mean, we already glued this thing in, we already shimmed it, we already screwed everything. Like it is what it is. You can't have everything. And I just had so many man doors, like we'd open them up, there's no header, and it's like, it's plaster and stuff. It's like, do we put a header in this? Like, there's no header in this, dude. Like, it was such a different animal. And like I said, with the humans, people, I mean, like, well, at least with a garage door, right? I mean, I'm sure you guys have experienced this. I've been doing it for years, right? And I can have two doors next to each other, right? Two 9x7s. I can do one, and that thing runs like butter. I'm like, oh man, I did good, man. Pat myself on the back. Good job, Dave. And then I get to the next one, right? Same model, same everything, same temperature, same day, same tools. And I go to put it right, and it's like, this one runs kind of crummy. And I'm like, what the heck? You can mess with the springs a little bit, but it's just like, it just doesn't run. You're looking for spacing. Did I screw something up? Back hangs are tight. What, and it's like, what the, is the rollers like the one's got more grease in it than other? Or did somebody use like a lithium grease versus a WD-40 in the rollers? Like what's going on here? Well, at least with that, if you're putting an opener on it, customer ain't gonna ever, they're just gonna push a button and door goes up, door goes down. Good job, and you just kind of, lives with it. So it's just something to kind of think about a little bit. And like I said, I mean, it's one of those things. If you ain't gotten, trust me right now, if I didn't have no work, my little happy butt would be out installing man doors, slide doors if I had to. You know what I mean? If I had absolutely nothing. But you start learning over time, maybe somebody else is better just left, I mean, just the way it is, man. There's people out there that are janitors. There's people out there that CEOs. I mean, it's just, you start kind of figuring out your niche and what works good for you. But those slide doors and everything, you got shims and screws, and you got to, hope everything's right. I mean, it's a lot of work. So it says, our great Dave. Oh, appreciate that, Mr. Tanner. I do. I really do. It encourages me to make more. You know what I mean? I like helping people. Because I learn from you guys too. You guys, comments and stuff like that, emails. I just had, who was telling me about something about the Milwaukee. They're coming out with something. So I was already doing a little Google search on it. Didn't get very far, but I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Milwaukee's coming out with something, generator, whatever it was. Got to look into that. I like my Milwaukee. Wrong side, dummy. There it is. But trust me, they got problems too. I mean, there's nothing that's perfect, unfortunately. That's just how it is. I think it's great. Talk to other garage door guys and watch. Oh, that's cool. Awesome. I've been installing 14 years. Wow, Tanner. I didn't realize you were doing it for that long. And own my own garage door business for about 5 to 6. And all yours. Oh yeah. Yours and all your. Wow. Man. 5 to 6. Tanner, you got any employees right now, or are you just dealing with it kind of solo? Dude, I remember my 5 to 6 was tough. It was tough. I had so many things to learn. I think I was probably when I was in my 5 to 6, I think I want to say like 3 or 4 workers. And we were probably just starting into Lowe's, and I was into the mindset of, being busy, and busy doesn't equal profitable. And that was a hard lesson. That was a very hard lesson to learn. It was very painful. I remember still exactly. My memory's not that good, except for when I get comments from you guys and it spurs it. But I'll never forget when I remember that was a year. Even my business partner was still around, and he told me that he didn't want to. He basically didn't want to take care of anything. He just wanted to be a technician, and he wanted to be told what to do when he came in, and he wanted to be done for the day. So he wanted to work, basically whatever, 9 to 4, 9 to 3, and he was done. Right. And I remember he bailed on me. It was a very hot summer day. And I remember I went to like he said, I can't finish up these last 2 service calls or whatever. So I remember I end up, I'm heading out there to meet up with them, right? We're both driving like Ford Rangers at the time. We got them with the ladder racks and everything on there. And I remember I get out there, and I think he ended up getting a flat tire too. So I helped him with his flat tire. So I already ate up some time. I told him, I said, whatever, man. I said, just, have a nice night, get out of here. I said, I will, because when you're in the depths of this stuff, right? Like, to reschedule this customer is a freaking nightmare. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, tomorrow we're we're balls deep and whatever, man. We're going here, and we like, I can't, like, I don't have time for these 2 customers left. They have broken springs, and I told them we'd be there today. We committed to it. So I remember went out and did this one customer, right? And I think they said something about, they said something about they could do, you can have something on the fridge if you want, right? And I'm like, I'm that type where I'm like, no, 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 like, I ain't going to your fridge. You know what I mean? And I remember I was up on that ladder, winding those springs, man, and all of a sudden it hit me, and I mean, I went backwards. I remember I grabbed that ladder. I was like passing out because of heat stroke. I was sweating. I mean, my underwear was wet. It was one of those days. I mean, the sweat's running down my back, my butt cracks. Just, I mean, it looked like I peed myself, because I just got so much sweat running down me. And I remember just thinking, holy crap, man, this is stupid. And I remember when that year came, I met with the accountant, right? And, they're telling me I got to pay these taxes on like 30 grand. And now I got 16 grand in the bank account. And I'm like, how do I got to pay taxes on 30 grand? Oh, that's what the, QuickBooks, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this is stupid. Like, I don't have that money. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, that's what it shows, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of politics into it, whatever. And I literally walk out, and I'm looking. We get done, we leave, we head back to the shop, and I'm looking at all these trucks, and I'm going, man, these trucks got, some of them are close to 200,000, some have over 200,000. And, this one's got a window smashed out of it, cause the angle iron hit it. This one, the, needs tires. I mean, this one's all pitted and, dented, starting to rust. And I thought, I don't even have enough money to buy one new pickup truck right now. I don't know what we're doing wrong. You know what I mean? Well, I know what we were doing wrong. Now that I'm an older vet, we were traveling too far. That was our biggest death. We were doing all these things for Lowe's, and we were traveling, hour and a half away for jobs, and we should have been more focused on local, really close to home. And that's hard if you're not in a it can be hard. Not that, because I know a couple guys that are real remote, right? And they do pretty good, but they got to, they're not running like big shops or anything like that. So it can be done, but it's just that travel that can really kill you. You know what I mean? Especially if you don't have vendors close, especially if you don't have a lot of customers that are dense, you're working harder. You know what I mean? And sometimes when you get out farther, people just engineer things better. They're more creative. Where city slickers and stuff are, it's kind of like in the wood. I sold wood before, right? I sell more wood in cities, right? Because they want fireplaces and stuff like that than I ever did out in the country, because they're country people and they got like tons of woods, and and then now you're fighting the power of the internet. You know what I mean? Where before, think about when you used to buy a car, right? When I used to go with my mom, we had two roads. We had Apple and we had Getty. Those were our main roads that you literally had to go look for a car. I remember that's how we looked for cars. We're gonna go look for a car. Okay. Sit in the passenger seat, right feet are dangling, can barely see out the side window. And we, look for a black car, anything black, you know. Oh, mom, hey, there's a black one. All right, turn around. It's not the kind of like it's this and that. I mean, think of how things have changed. I mean, you go on Facebook, Craigslist, Auto Trader, whatever. You got eBay. I mean, it's all changed, and so some for the good, some for the worse. It says talking a mirror. Having a good days. Yes. Not so good days. Hit the nail on the head. Well, that's good. I appreciate it, Tanner. Like I said, I'm glad you're here. No, it's like standard garage door, but instead of the panels being side to side, the panels are up and down. And let's see, the track is on the header. Oh, yes, yes. The only thing I ever dealt with that, Mark, was we had a guy. I helped actually rebuild the house. It was right next to you ever get to Mesquite and go to the Hackley house. It's a really lumber baron that used to run it. It's a really cool house. I mean, the craftsmanship in there is amazing. Anyways, we were on the next house back. It was called the Hume Hackley, and there was a Hume. No, we were in the Hamilton house. So I helped rebuild that with my uncle. And they had a sliding door, and the openers were really expensive. And but I've done some for myself or for like maybe help my dad or something like that. But I've never dealt with the sliding barn doors. They're typically like Amish can do it. Your builders can do it. I mean, there's just really, like, for us over here anyways, there's really no market. What are you gonna do? Operate it. And typically anybody that has one anyways, they don't like it because they don't seal, they bang. We get snow, so they get plugged up with snow. They don't open. They always want to put a garage door in there. And of course for us, they typically, they want it to be the same, well, I got to park my RV in here, so I need it to be exactly 14 foot, and that's what my rafters are. And it's like, you better just stick with your, sliding door, basically. You know what I mean? Like, how am I going to put a garage door when I have no headroom? You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen. If you want to bring it down, we can, but they typically, how that goes. It's just doesn't work out so well. Sometimes it does. So let's see here. What's up, Mr. Roy? Highly experienced, and I don't mess anything but, what does it say? I don't mess anything but sectional doors. What is RSSD? Residential something doors? And fire rolling steel operator, commercial, residential, and gates. I wouldn't work on any sliding doors if they paid me big money. Yeah. And it's a little bit confusing because when we're talking about sliding doors, it's kind of like, are we talking about the barn doors? Are we, that are wood that slide? Are we talking about like shopping malls, and stuff like that. Because actually, I forgot. It just reminded me. I did used to work on one too for the mall. I had a good connection in there, and they were the cheapest boogers. And the things would, the problem was, like I said, you're dealing with humans again, and they had a big problem with teenage kids that would literally kick the doors, or the people just run their carts into it and it would knock it off track. And they were horrible at paying. I mean, it took so long. And I remember we'd be in there and we put it back on track, we get it running, we set the limits. And they're just such a different animal because they're really sensitive, you know what I mean, for obstructions. So we eventually just had it was funny because we left, the manager left too at one point, and then she worked at a beauty salon or something like that, or had her own. And then she came back as the mall was kind of basically dying. And I remember she like was trying really hard to get my number from the secretary. And I just had no interest. I just was like, I don't know what we can do for you. And I think I was in there one time and she cornered me and, drugged me basically in her office and was like, so what's going on? You've been a good boy to me. Like, like we really could use some help here. And I'm like, yeah, well, you could really use some help, but you guys don't ever want to pay. I don't expect you to come to work and not get paid, so why am I going to come to work and not get paid? You know what I mean? So we just kind of, and they've now just, I think she's even gone again because they've just gone so downhill. I don't know who, have had it. There are so many problems. Big. Yes. So it's a big headache. Not all money is good money. Ooh, I like that, Roy. That's good. I'd have to agree with that. Not all money is good money. Amen to that, man. And some things just ain't worth, yes, aggravation. Boy, that's well said. My hat's off to you, Roy. That was good. That was a good one. I would definitely agree with that. Um, I, hey, I've been there, man. I've, like I said, we had I'll tell you this one. We had, I remember this now too. It's coming to me. It's been so long ago. We did, I think it was called Amazon. It wasn't that Amazon that we know of, but it was an Amazon apartment complex. And they were, they had a center mullion, real flimsy aluminum doors, like full glass type ones, and they had, I think it was a panic bar with some kind of handle, but then they had electric strikes, right? Like they're supposed to have their cards. Well, these things would break, and the tenants there, those are all apartments there, they get used to the door being open, right? And they want to get up to the elevator and go up to their room and stuff. And when we come and fix it, they wouldn't bring their card, right? So what they start doing is they put their foot on that center mullion or the other door because there was two doors together, and they yank hard on it. If you yank hard enough, you could get it to pop. And I mean, it was like we were constantly fighting these things. And I remember one day I'm there working on the darn thing, right? Tools out, everything on the ground. And this one young kid, he comes and he's hanging off the door closer. And I mean, I like, I bent over doing something. I look up and I'm like, dude, what the hell are you doing? Oh, what's up? What's up, man? That's where I do my chin ups. What? No, get off. No wonder I'm here. You freaking animal. Like you can't be doing that. And I told her, I said, look, I said, you guys need to put up surveillance cameras. And she's like, well, here's the problem. And I don't know if this is like a state thing or a national thing, but she says, we can't even just put up fake cameras. She says they have to be real cameras and they actually have to take full video because I think it was more like if something does happen and they see there's a camera, but it's not a real camera and it doesn't take the footage, we can be in trouble. And I'm like, well, you guys got to do something. And I was trying to tell her, I was like, you need to, change out all this whole door. But like I said, they weren't having problems with the windows next to it or the apartment next to it with another window, right? They're having problems with all the traffic has to come through these man doors. And you got animals, right? And these people were animals. They didn't care. They were disgusting. I mean, you get in the elevator. I remember, it smelled like they were peeing in it. Smell of urine. I remember there was like a laundry chute or something. They were shoving their garbage in it. I mean, it's like, I could have a full-time person here. And I remember I learned something. Maybe you can learn something. Excuse me. I remember I was in her, don't get me wrong, this girl, she was, and anyways, I'm in her office, right? She had a big office, real big office. I'm sitting there like a little puppy dog. Yeah. Yes. Yes. And I remember her secretary coming in, and her secretary tells me, she goes, "Hey, the plumber or the HVAC guy just called and blah, 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 blah." Right. Seems all kind of, like in the movies type almost. And she's like, "Okay." She goes, "We'll see if we can make them on the cut sheet or cut list." And I'm like, "What did she just say? Cut list, cut sheet. What the hell's that?" So I'm sitting there, right? And she's on the phone. She's busy still. She, needs a few minutes before she starts talking to me. I'm sitting there just pondering about it. And I'm like, what is that? What does that mean? So she gets off the phone, and we already kind of had a relationship. We know each other. So it's not like our first meeting here. And I said, "Hey," I said, "I think her name was, I want to say it's April, but I don't think it was April." And I said, "Hey," I said, "What's going on? What's up with this cut sheet? What does that mean?" And she goes, "Well, every month we only have a allotted amount of money." And she says, "Certain people make the cut sheet. So those are the people that get paid. The other people, oh, they got to wait till next month." And I was like, "Oh, I'll be darned. No wonder we've had problems. And no wonder, luckily, I've had a pretty decent relationship with you. I've been nice to you. We show up and we normally get paid, but we've had a few that have been kind of really like, hey, you haven't paid your bill, you know, and I wasn't on the cut sheet, was I?" So I was like, now I understand what they're doing. What's this say? I installed one of those doors. What do you got here? Tanner, they are really common. I put my little icon on here, but sometimes they just kind of keep moving, which is good. I'm glad. I like when you guys talk amongst each other and all that. It's all good. We're all learning. Bit of headache, not yes. Mark, just on your question, those style doors are big. Whoa, what does this say? German? Not real popular here. States, yes, close. Yet to see the horizontal sectional doors. I might have to look this up. Maybe it's on like YouTube or something. I get some guys. There's some other doors out there too that do some weird funkiness, and I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I just don't know if they're ready for that over here. Um, oh, New York. Yep, probably makes sense. It's like, was it New York and California? They got all the modern stuff, don't they? Installed those doors from late. Maybe if it's Germany too. I know somebody's been hounding me on the Germany side that's been wanting me to do some stuff, and I'm like, yeah, just keep pushing that one off to the side a little bit. Asking around. Installed one of those. That's kind of like if you go to when I was in Arizona, like their sliding gates, which I know is not the same, but like they got a track like on the ground. And I'm like, what is this? I'm like, we can't do this in Michigan. It'd be all full of snow and ice, and but they can get away with it because the weather is different, or they have shelter or whatever. Says they can go around corners. Ooh, I think I have seen this maybe. Um, so the trip hazard, dirt, debris, yes, yeah. So yep. So Roy's saying how they got dirt and debris. That's what I kind of figured. You know what I mean? I understand they probably got their place, 2.5 was east. Oh, nice. What's the brand, Roy? Let's see. Person I don't know. Always cool to see something different. Yeah, they are a headache, but they pay very well. Yeah, I don't doubt that. That's like we kind of got like for us over here, it's like Grand Rapids. They got all kinds of barrier arms and barrier gates. Um, I'm trying to think of what my buddy told me though. He was working for a company. They were doing handrails, and he told me that they had to shut down like the whole road or whatever, the whole sidewalk that was heated because the builder they mismarked or something where they're supposed to put the handrail, and he starts drilling, and all of a sudden he hits this like pink coolant whatever, and it's what keeps the concrete warm. And so he's like freaking out, and he's like, oh my God, and he's like, he calls, he like basically had to call like 911 to finally get somebody to come and shut this. He's like, this thing just keeps puking out coolant, man. He's like, I'm flooding I mean, he's like, they're going to have a hazmat company out here. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, what a freaking nightmare. He's like, yeah, man. He's like, and he's like, we're going to only getting paid like $300 to do this for a stupid little handrail. And I'm like, we had, in the GR. I remember it was like one of those things I'll never forget it because I was like eating like a bowl of cereal or something. I don't remember. And I remember hearing on the news that they were basically saying how a garage door, came down and killed somebody. And I was like, what? What? And first thing is like, holy crap, was it one that I did? I'm gonna wait. I'm waiting for the, news crew to be at my doorstep, and luckily it was a bigger, there were these sectional doors that actually stack. When they lift up, they catch the next one. They're really big and bulky. Well, they're basically 100% suspended on cables, basically. Um, and something broke or whatever, and that thing came down and it unfortunately killed somebody. And I just was like, oh my gosh, that's horrible that happened. But I just thought, oh, I'm so like thankful it wasn't me, because and I just kept thinking, oh, you think you want to get down there and be a big shot, do you? And I thought, yeah, I think I'm good. I don't need to work on those doors, because I've seen them, when I go down there you go to the car ramps and stuff. And I thought, nah, I'm good. I'm good. Their headache. Yes, somber openers are the best for those. Oh, I'm still can't, when I went to the IDA show, I don't know. I still somber just looks still really cheap to me. Those openers, I don't know. Let's see here. That's cool. What does it say? Royce R motors are motors that you got to use for the sides. Oh, yeah. Oh, rolling steel service doors. Yeah. Rolling steel, man. I don't know if I think I got a video coming out where I was kind of bashing. I got Clopay and Cornell. They sent us something that really screwed us on a job. Oh man, I tell you what, the problems we have, and it's just something else you can't. I wouldn't even caught it, and so the manufacturer screwed something up. I had a sliding door / barn style door opener. People contact you about selling or promoting their openers. I think we ended up using, when I did mine, we did Lift Masters on that sliding door. If I remember correctly, we ended up, they're expensive because it's like they put that reinforcement on that trolley that goes along. It worked good, but you had to have the right stuff. I think we were going to try to cheat it, and then it's like it puts too much pressure on the trolley, so it's got to be the right setup. So let's see what it says. Mark, I know the man who takes care of Somber, and he's a good friend of mine. That's cool. That's always cool. What does it say? Up and don't work great with the rock farm yards. I love them when you come up to people. Was it Resi trolley opener? There's slide door. Oh yeah, arm to yep. It's just oh man, that's cool. Tons of summer and many summers. Evo. Ooh, and it says I personally know the summer representative in fact, he used to be my boss. Oh, that's cool. He sold the door company he owned. It's kind of one of those things too. That's always important about stickers. I know one place, was it Precision? I think it's Precision Garage Door. They bought actually a kind of a distant friend of mine's own business because they just knew he had all those stickers out there, and they wanted just to soak up that business and that concept. That's right. First time I went to pick, what was that? Motor Summer. He gave me a tour back where they have all their stock. Show me the difference. Nice. Like on the back where it's full vertical. Pretty cool. That's neat. Tanner, if you could put your email. Yeah, do that for sure. Throw the email on there. If not, if you guys, I understand it's kind of public too. You guys could always just, Tanner, you can always email me, and then, If I get it, I can always just put it up on let Roy know or something too. Roy could always just shoot me if that's the way. So the whole world doesn't have it, and you got people bothering you because you just never know nowadays. You know how the world is, but normally it's not too bad because obviously nowadays you know what's nice about this new technology. There's this old thing on here. You can just kind of block it. You know what I mean? You can block it on phones. You can block it on email, and that comes in pretty handy. And my email works pretty good now, where it's actually it'll kick quite a bit of stuff that's scam. I just had something come over my phone. I started looking at it. I thought, I'll look at it on the desktop. I jumped on. I was like, it's gone. I was like, that's all right. It looked like a scam to me anyway. So I was like, it probably put it where we needed to go. So that was kind of nice. Roman, and he'll send pictures of the summer openers, and nice. Yeah, I don't think we've ever had a demand for a sliding like what you guys are talking about. I've never had a customer. And is it? I'm assuming because if they go around corners, I feel like I've seen this. It's obviously for tight areas, and we just, fortunately, where we're at, we don't have tight areas, and we got plenty of room here in Michigan. Um, Maybe downtown a little bit. You could in like GR, our bigger city, but um, we just for around here we don't have where I live, my town, we don't have skyscrapers or anything, so we don't have any of that bigger stuff. So it's kind of look at Roy. He says it's a small world, Mark. Yeah, it is a small world. It's amazing, honestly. You know, and that's why I always like try to tell like the younger generation and stuff like that too. Man, watch what you do, man. Don't burn the bridges. You know, whatever you do, wherever you work, try to build a relationship with them. You know what I mean? Maybe let them know your intentions. Unless obviously they're burning you. But most time I don't hear that. I don't hear where the boss is trying to really just put your face in the mud. It's people get these bright ideas about well, I'm gonna go out and do this and do that, and it's like you can you know hey I've done it. I probably do it again. No, because I just you make so much work, and you just can't. I had a guy that worked for me, and I didn't realize that he was a thief. I found out when another guy worked for me because he used to work with them, and he actually, I guess, stole the forklift guys where they were working at this shop. He stole the computer that the guy was using to diagnose what was wrong with the forklift. But anyways, this guy's true nature started coming out, and he ransacked a truck. He started going around to my vendors, and he was writing bad checks, and so I caught up to him, and I found out a place where he was ordering doors. And I called the guy, and I told him, I said, "Hey, I said, are you?" I said, "You got anything on order for this certain guy?" And he says, "Yeah, I do actually." I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, make sure you don't release that product." I said, "Until that check clears." I said, "Because I was just at my advertiser guy, and they wrote a check. His wife called. Now they wrote another check, and because that check's no good, supposedly. You know what I mean? There's something really fishy going on." And I already knew one of my other vendors. He got burned for $2,500, and he was already asking me, "Where's this guy live?" You know what I mean? And I was like, "Well, I know where he's renting." So I wasn't a lot of help, but that's kind of one of those things. Worked in Denver. Denver's a pretty cool place. I cruised there not too long ago. Nice. But anywho, I'm probably going to wrap it up. I see Mr. Roy and Mark, which is great. I don't want to interrupt you guys. I just want to give you kind of a heads up. I'll probably do another 5 minutes here or something, and then I'll probably jump off. But get your email. Come on. It says, how do I get your email, Dave? It's normally on the bottom of my videos. I always put it in the description. So it's just Dave, like the letter A, and my middle initial is Alan. So it's Dave A. Dubson, Dubson at gmail.com. Dave A. Dubson at gmail. Like I said, it's typically on all my videos. I always put it in the description so people can see it. They can always, email me because I love it. I love when guys email me and they got questions and, young, old, middle age, anything, you know what I mean? I love, they tell me, I mean, off the wall stuff too. You know what I mean? That's just, you know, I love it. I love it because it just, I don't know how to explain it. There's, you know, every one of you guys are a library, and I'm a library, right? And we have these books of knowledge, and with the power of the internet, it's amazing how we can go right in and pick those things. So where before, if you were like me, I used to have to go buy books, and I have to, rub up to my vendors, and there was so much digging, where now it's very somewhat free. Not that it's super easy, but it's out there. It's getting there, and I look at it like this, I've been very blessed, and if I can help somebody else, you know, um, I just feel like that's the right thing. You know what I mean? Why I don't want to see anybody suffer. I don't want to see anybody go through the pain, um, like I did. Um, cause it's tough. It's very tough. And, you know, I mean, I don't want to say it for sure, but I mean, it felt like sometimes like it might have cost me my marriage. You know what I mean? Like my life, because it can get very dark, and it can get very lonely. It's that whole thing, right? That it's good to be king, but the crown is heavy. I love that saying. It's good to be king, right? Yay, I'm king. I make all the decisions. I do everything, but that crown is just so heavy. The burden, the employees, the workman's comp, the insurance, the tax man, the vehicles, the maintenance, the brakes, and it's like and you just start kind of wondering, then you got to go out and deal with the world, right? You got to go on the public roads, right? You got to deal with the traffic, the idiots, the smokers, to the texters, to the it's amazing. It's amazing. And it's like those things are, you just don't even know they exist, right? And you just sit there and you're like, am I the only one seeing this? And you can go home and you can rattle it off to your wife. You can do certain things, and they just kind of like, well, they just fire him. And you're like, babe, I can't just fire him. Like if I fire him, like I got so much work, I can't even, like, I'm gonna have to, like, all these customers I made promises to, all these guys and women and everybody, I shook their hands, and the grandmas, I gave hugs and said, hey, I'll take care of you. We're gonna make sure we make this happen for you. We're good people, blah blah blah. Poof. Or I got to work, 20 hours a day, and 7 days a week. And then you're going to be mad because I'm never around. uh, so this is not tech savvy at all. It says at all. Don't think I could send email. Never had Facebook. My wife is tech person. I understand that. My wife's kind of, you can always send me an email. Like I said, it doesn't, I don't want people to think it's got to be in, just put in there too. Like if it's something personal, um, you know, just put that on there. I'm not going to share it. I respect that. And that's why, like, even like right now with this comment, there's the guy's name's more than just all, but it's all something. And I don't put it out there in case he's, I don't want his work or something to find what, whatever. I don't want stuff to happen like that. You know what I mean? I look at it, privacy is a really big thing. I respect yours. I'd hope you respect mine. So it can be whatever. You know what I mean? It can be, hey, I'm thinking about having a kid. Should I have a kid? Should I not have a kid? I can give you my best opinion. I can swing, but I don't hit every ball. You know what I mean? So, but that's fine. And that's what I like about all this stuff, is that I'm sure, like you guys do, just like me, right? We scour across Facebook, or not Facebook, but YouTube and other social platforms, and we pick little nuggets, hopefully, because there's not one person that's perfect, right? Um, and so we just pick up little nuggets, and we take those and we carry them to something else to hopefully make our little rock tower bigger, and and learn things. All our door, what does it say here? All our door, Facebook, and email stuff and billing. I just installed Crash Doors. Hey man, I tell everybody, I go, hey, that's what I do with my wife. I say, hey, she's the brains. I said, I'm just a laborer. So what do you want me to pick up? You know what I mean? That's how I look at it. And, she does a great job. It says, Dave, talk about burning bridges last Wednesday. my ex-boss, what does it say? Threatened to hit me. Oof. I ended up calling the police. Ooh, man, because I thought he was going, ooh, what does it say? Going for a gun. Ooh, man. Ooh, I'm out of doors forever. Man, that's crazy, dude. I don't want to be I don't even want to be a part of it. I remember that with I had some guys that I was hiring, and they were some rough characters. And the one guy, um he was always trying to initiate stuff. He was definitely a problem child. But the problem was is that I had him, and then I had his two boys, right? And that's where you guys can already beat me up on this. It it's the whole thing with like we don't hire family. You know what I mean? And I remember they had some spat about each other. I remember I was standing right in the doorway at the shop there, and I remember I literally, and the one guy, I'll say he's Mr. B, and there was Mr. J. Mr. B was like he was my foreman, right? He was my best lead guy right now. He was the guy that could handle stuff, go out to the job site if something wasn't happening right. I don't know if this was before or after, but I already kind of like got this guy like this is how silly this stuff is sometimes, right? He ended up in the past, right? This was like a year before I even hired him. He was wiring up before it became legal pot shops, right? He was electrician for him basically. He was like, wiring up the lights and stuff like that. He wasn't growing it. He had his legal card, right, to have marijuana. And anyways, somebody went across state lines selling that stuff. Well, since he was a part of the phone conversation, blah blah blah, he was networked in, right? Well, next thing you know, he has the whole agency, right? Whatever, FBI, everything there, guns drawn, drug his wife out, handcuffs, and he's like sitting there. He comes home, guns pointed at the car, and he's like, I like, what is going on here? He's like, and they bring him in, they sit him down next to his wife. His wife's crying, handcuffed. He's handcuffed, and he says, he goes, yeah, he goes, I don't know. He goes, I don't see what the problem is here, sir. He goes, but I'm legal. Like I have my card to basically have. And he goes, you know, do you think we give an F? He says, we're the FBI. He says, we don't give a crap. Well, they seized all his stuff, right? Guns, computers, cameras, truck. It wiped him out, right? So that whole like, proven until guilty. And I said, so I even told him, I said, so he's, he comes back to work and stuff. And I'm like, so you haven't even been sentenced? And he's like, no. And I'm like, are you, what? Like, you haven't been sentenced and all your stuff he's like, it's gone. He's like, guns, everything. So like, my house is empty. And I'm like, he like took the money or safe. He's like, left furniture and stuff, but like just major. And I'm like, what? Well, anyways, he was going through that and stuff. Well, this other guy called him out, and I'm like holding him back. I'm like, don't even do it. Like, cause I'm like, I'm already like in my head. I know, like, I got to call the cops, or the neighbors see this and call the cops, or I don't even need, I don't need this in my life. Like, I don't need this in my life, dude. And so he refrained from like, and the one Mr. J just kept, come out here. And I mean, he's doing the, come on. And I'm like, oh my gosh, man. And like I said, that's where it can, the PTSD can really hit you, you know what I mean? And that's years of this. And it was my fault too, for hiring guys of certain things that I should, that I look for a lot more now. Character is always a big thing. I don't go with just what people say. I want to see action. I want to talk to people. I want to, have 3, 4, 6 references. And that's why I got to kind of really watch, time will tell. Time will tell. So you don't want to run into it, like it's kind of like, your first date, you don't get married the next day. Some people do. That's really stupid. But time will tell, give it some time. Give it some time. Let it, see how things work out. See if you mingle. See if, if they start seeing things come up missing, or, there's somebody slacking, or time will tell. Worked in Denver. Let's see here. Burning bridges. But yeah, this ain't cool, man. That Mr. Roy had to go through. I wasn't going to tolerate another. Yeah, disrespect, man. That's sad. be out already working at what I consider my dream job. It was already in the works months ago. That's cool, man. Like I said, everything happens for a reason. I remember, and some people just are that way. I mean, people just don't get it. They really, I don't know why people do that. I don't know why people do the certain things that they do. The stealing, the lying, the cheating, the I know why they do it. It's greed. You know what I mean? But violence, there's just, you know what I mean? Especially when it's like true grown ass men. You know what I mean? Come on, man. You know what I mean? Come on, man. Not Mr. Joe Biden. But we can talk about this as men. You know what I mean? And men or women, you know what I mean? Like we can talk about this. Like we don't need to shout, get violent. That's just so that's so like elementary. You know what I mean? The school bully and stuff. Now, yeah, but I mean, you gotta step your ground sometimes, but I mean, it's just I don't know, man. That's just not cool. I'm sure he felt the pain though. I remember when my business partner, I told him we were doing this big gate job is for the Coast Guard, which was like a really big job for us at the time. And he's tearing these wires out, And I told him, I said, dude, I said, you tear those wires out. I said, you better have them all labeled. I said, so like for one, you know how to do it. And I said, if you don't come back, somebody else knows how to do it. I got it. I got it. Well, I didn't realize he was plotting the plan to basically leave the business. And I don't know, he came in one day, something blew him up a little bit or something. It wasn't even he just always had issues. You know what I mean? It wasn't even like work related. It'd always be like personal, and he'd never talk about it. You'd sit there through the whole day, tell something's wrong, and something's going on with his marriage or something. But he never want to talk about it. One day, just like the next day or something comes in, he's like, "I'm done," and I'm like, "What? What do you mean you're done? Like, how about like 2 weeks? Like, like we got all these jobs. I got this big, Coast Guard job that we just did this gate operator that's got tons of wires. I have no clue where they go. And we're putting a new, basically somebody hit it, ran into it, basically over some affair. It sounds like, some guy ran into the gate, smashed everything up, blah, blah. They arrested him. And so now we're changing out the gate operator and we have to wait for the new one to come in. And now I got to wire this thing up. And I guess it's like what they say, right? If it doesn't kill you, it only makes you stronger. And so it didn't kill me, but I learned a few things and learned the hard way. So bzz, bzz. What's this do? I don't. Did I just blow a fuse? I'm sorry. Okay, next one. A lot of that. I'll stay touch. Join live chats. That's cool. And time to time. Sure, man. Anytime. Roy, you're more than welcome. Like I said, you're more than welcome to always email me with anything. If it's personal, if it's business, I'll try to help you out any way I can. You know what I mean? That's how I look at it. I just know if we several times I put up, yeah, uh, yeah. I mean, you know, Roy, I can definitely understand that. You know what I mean? And and how hopefully what I'm saying is you're not taking it like when I like with my business partner, right? I did so many things, to make his job easier, or um, I remember I confronted him so many times, and I said, look, I said, what do you want to do? I said, do you want to answer the phone? Well, I said, do you want to do sales? I mean, like, I got so many different hats I'm wearing right now. Like, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want to do? Like, I'll give you one thing, and then finally, after like 6 times over whatever, like 3 years or something like that, he finally told me, he's like, I just want to be told what to do, and I want to go home. And I'm like, okay, I got it. Like now we're on the same. Like I get the standard. And we never had big arguments. It was just man to man kind of stuff, just talking about situations. But I could never like what do you want? Because even when we started out, which is why I don't really think I'd ever recommend doing a partnership. You I look at this business, right? In a lot of businesses, there's one captain of a ship, right? Think about it, Deadliest Catch, right? Think about all those ships on Discovery Channel that we watched over the years and stuff like that. There's one captain, right? He's the captain. There's a engineer, there's a second mate, whatever, skipper, whatever you call them. I don't, but one captain. And that's just unfortunately the way it's kind of got to be, because somebody needs to make the final call. Not that, and you need a good captain, right? You need somebody that's willing to listen to other people, somebody that's willing to take criticism, advice, take it all. I mean, the hate, the happiness, I mean, everything. And they have to keep that ship afloat. And like I said, until I finally, he kind of told me exactly who wants. I said, that's not a problem. I got it, man. You come in tomorrow. I said, I had 3 clipboards or whatever of assignments for him to do that day, which I knew he could accomplish. He'd do that. He'd come back. He'd throw them back down on the desk with checks, cash, whatever, credit card numbers, and sweet, away he goes. Have a nice day. You know what I mean? Hey, we're whatever this or that. Could you, clean up your truck a little bit or something and make sure everything's ready to go? And so everything is in perspective. You know what I mean? So it's, but when he finally told me, and it wasn't like, when he just says, "Oh, I'm done today," and I'm like, dude, like like I just told you yesterday on this gate operator, like, don't leave me in a bad spot for anybody, for yourself, because I know he was kind of hot headed, so he would sometimes he'd just go too fast, and it's like, dude, you gotta slow down, and you gotta think about the next dude, which is going to be you. I mean, potentially, which it wasn't, or if like I think about all these things, and I think even Cap of my business is he's learning this a little bit, because I've noticed he's taking more pictures, and I'm always telling him, I said, think about the next guy, think about the next guy, think about you're not here, think about you get in a car accident, think about you cut your leg, you cut your arm, you hurt your back, something happens to the wife or your girlfriend or a sister or a brother or something, they pass away unexpectedly, or your mother, things happen. How are you going to set the next person up for success if you don't have it documented, or you don't have this thing labeled? And these are all the things that I didn't even realize, right? But these are all the things that take a lot of time. And so these jobs that used to take me an hour now take me 2 hours, because I have to put the time in there, because I have to think about the next guy, right? So I have to set the next person up for success, which might be me. It might be whoever, you know what I mean? But I don't want them to engage into it and go, oh, dude, this dude left me a freaking a rat's nest, where I can go, no, look, there's a key on the job site. The key's over here. It's hidden. Hey, look, I got a blueprint, right? I got a piece of paper shoved in the corner there that's got all the stuff labeled. You know what I mean? Or I got a video I can send you, especially now with all this technology, man. You got, it's just, people just don't use it though. Like they don't, like I just stop. I take pictures. I mean, I probably take too many pictures, but I take pictures of everything, right? Because I love when somebody's like, hey, where's this? And I'm like, oh, it's on the picture. It's right there. It's right there. Take a look. See that? See that right there? Yeah, let me zoom in. Let me circle it on my phone. Yeah, right there. It's right there. Don't worry about it. So it says, I didn't have a buddy help me for the past 2 years. Paying him by the job was going great. Not a partner, but paid him well. That's cool. But just wasn't hungry. Wanted to show up yeah. Yep. I know that feeling, Tanner. I know that feeling. Like I said, my business partner at the time when we were starting out, he literally, I mean, he wanted to be like, he was literally like 9 to 2, to be honest. And I mean, so like we'd go out and do, at the time we were just starting out, we'd do a door. We get back. I mean, we do a real, half-ass cleanup, right? Throw those, the metal door or whatever in the scrap pile, blah, 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 blah. Not wash truck or anything. Not that you need to do that out every time, but, hey, make sure it's ready to go for the next day. It's got fuel in it. Tools are all put away. Everything's charged. That's a big one, isn't it? All your power, all your batteries and power tools, everything's charged, that needs to be, because all that stuff takes time. So might as well have it charged overnight. So everything's ready to go in the morning. Like he didn't want to do that. He just like, oh, we're done for the day. And I'm like, done for the day. Like, dude, we still got to do advertising. Like, we still got to get back with these phone calls, these voicemails. Like, we still got to get this one thing on order. Ah, I don't know. Whatever, man. I'm gonna go out and ride the wave runner. And I still remember one time, I think I had to go to court for something, maybe personal, maybe it was for the business. I don't remember, but I remember I kind of tested it, right? So I called the business number, and we had time, we had a cell phone that we were using, and I gave it to him, and he didn't answer it for like 2 hours or 3 hours. And I knew he didn't have no service calls, nothing that day, and I'm like, so finally he calls me and he's like, hey, what's up? I said, dude, I said, what the hell? I said, why did you not answer this phone or get back to me? I said, it's been like 2 or 3 hours. Oh, well, man, I was out on the wave runner. On the wave runner? How do you answer a phone on a wave runner? Like, well, it was with me. It was just in a Ziploc bag under the seat, but I was out having fun. And I'm like, oh my gosh, dude. Like, you can't be the one day, like every phone call counts. You guys know this, especially if you started out from scratch. And I started out from scratch, went into the negative, was back at scratch. I mean, it's like, dude, every phone call counts. Like, you have to answer every phone call. Answer. I used to even make it so eventually, when I figured it out, one time one phone would ring. If his phone rang and he didn't answer, it would flow over to my phone and make my phone ring, so I could catch it on a secondary. Got to answer that phone, especially when you're hungry and you're starving. I mean, we got bills to pay, or we got two people here that we're trying to pay. I mean, it's like, it's not fun. It wasn't fun. Let's see here. I just include what you're saying. Just as an owner, it's your customer, not mine. It's your problem, not mine, not personal. Just saying, we as employees should carry the burden. There is some truth to that. There is some truth to that. There's no doubt about that. I think about this one guy. He kind of hurt me. I don't know. It was a worker, but I remember one time he said something about, I used to take a lot of the guys, I'd take them out to lunch. And I remember one guy said, I heard it through a back door, I guess, but he says, oh, Dave will take you, he'll take you out to lunch. He says he likes to flaunt his money. That really irritated me, because I was like, I don't take people out to lunch to flaunt my money. I take you out to lunch because I appreciate you. I want to feed you. I'm hoping that I can give you a nice warm meal instead of a cold meal that you got in your lunchbox, or the meal that you don't have at all. You know what I mean? And, just sit down and shoot the crap and how things are going, and, buy you lunch. I mean, I thought that was kind of the American nice way of doing things. And when I heard that, it really that irritated me, that I thought, why would somebody think that? And I remember one time we had, and that's kind of one of the reasons why sometimes, another pro tip, right? Um, I, I, I don't really, I don't talk to the guys and stuff like that. I don't go there. I don't do because I found out sometimes what would happen, and this was my own fault, is it's easy to divulge like all this information about what's going on with the business with his customer, blah, 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 right? And you can tell them, and they're sitting there trying to spew something out, right? And you're sitting there going, yeah, but dude, you don't understand. Like, you got to get this. And it'd be like a 10, 20, 30-minute conversation of just all this stuff, right? And everybody would be like, all right, well, I better get going. They go to work. They're going to go take service trucks, go somewhere, right? And they'd realize that you're like, I don't know if we made any headway with that. You know what I mean? Like, I almost felt worse. Like, I was thinking, I hope that didn't come across as like I was mad or I was being rude. Um, it was just, it's easy when you're the head guy, in a sense for all that stuff where it's like, and it's tough because you know that you're trying to provide them like, so I remember one time I had a guy, man, I remember I told him very clearly. I said, "Look," I said, "you're going to go to this oil change place." And I told him, I said, "Look," I said, "they don't have money right in the get-go." Right? I said they have no money right when they first start out. They have very little money in the drawer. I said, when you go there, I said, you have to get paid. I said, so go there in the afternoon. So I'm gonna have you do this one service call. Us, whatever. It's gonna take you 2-3 hours, whatever. And then go there. And I said that you're gonna look at whatever it is, right? And you're gonna measure it up, and then you're gonna determine a price. I said, and when you tell him that price, you tell him, say, look, I got to get paid today, right? Before I do this work. Are you okay with this? And the guy's gonna say yes, no. He's gonna try to talk you down in price. But anyways, I tell him all this, right? I give him all this information. And he calls me, right? And he goes, "Hey, I did the work." He said, "I told him what it was going to be. But he says he don't have the money." And I'm like, "What do you mean he don't got the money? Did you not tell him?" "Oh, well, yeah, kind of. Or maybe he didn't. That's what it was. He didn't tell him." And I'm like, "Dude, are you kidding me right now?" Like, I was like, and I said, I got really upset, right? I said, "How about I tell you it this way?" I said, "How about I tell you, if you come back," I said, "without the money," I said, "you don't get a paycheck." Guess what he did? He came back with the money. But sometimes that's sometimes what guys do. They'll take the easy way out, right? It's not his problem, right? Because he's still going to get the paycheck regardless, right? And it was kind of like when we had the cough syndrome going on. I was willing to basically bankrupt the business to make sure everybody got a paycheck because old Uncle Sam didn't come through when we had to take a couple weeks of unemployment and stuff going on, and we had jobs that just nothing was happening, right? We were locked up. Builders wouldn't let us go in. Customers were freaking out, and some people could get it right away. Other people couldn't. I had the two best people that were tech savvy, trying to figure out why these people got it, but these people didn't get it. And you can't go down there and talk to nobody because they're closed, right? But yet these people in my extended family have bills. They got car payments, they got house payments, they got to put food on the table. What am I going to do? And like I said, that's when I was literally taking scrap metal out of our scrap hopper that we normally have dumped, taking it down. You know what I mean? So it's like those things, like it's like sometimes you can get pretty overwhelmed because you're people working 8 to 4, 8 to 5, right? And you're working from 6 to midnight because you want to make sure they got a paycheck. And that it can be very overwhelming sometimes. It's you think it's bad, like, if you thought about it and you go, I don't got no money to, basically give my kids or my wife or, basically nobody have a Christmas, you think about how bad that is. Well, think about that on a bigger scale, right? Nobody, they're not going to get paid, you know what I mean? Like, that's how it feels, like how you feel about with just your own little family. Now you got a big family, and it's very, very tough. Um, it's a lot of burden. That's why I said, it's good to be king, but that crown is heavy. Understand what I'm saying? Let's see how it is. But yes, I would agree with as long as you're out doing good work, ain't really much you can ask. Of course, of owners, it's on our company. You don't should treat with respect. Yes, exactly, which is true. There's no reason to definitely ever treat workers with no respect or anything like that. There's, you know, what does it say? The end, talking days off to dumb things. Days off when we are slammed with work, so I had to let him go and replace him with two 20-year-old guys. Oh man, doing just as good. Hard to remember how green kids can be. Yes. Isn't that amazing how it's Um, I know that even with the business, like with good technicians, you know what I mean? It's tough because you lose one, right? And you, like I said, you got to bring two. And I've gotten to the point at sometimes when in the business that it was like I wanted to basically like almost have two guys come in, right? Because one guy might not show up, right? Because you have to sometimes you got to bring in these people that are just not as qualified, but you need the labor, right? You need them to move the material or move, they can at least put nuts and bolts and screws and hinges and stuff on, right? You need the hands. And it's fun when they call you, right? You got everything planned, right? You spent that night preparing the truck, making sure all the batteries are charged, making sure you got all the nuts and bolts and screws and everything's loaded and everything's strapped and everything's got good packaging on it, right? To make that haul. And then you get that phone call. And it's always like it's never the night before, right? It's always like 10 minutes before they're supposed to be there. Hey, I'm not going to make it in. And you're like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, dude, you should have called me last night if you were thinking you had like if you got the runs, you need to text me. You know what I mean? And say, I got the runs. I just want to give you a heads up that I'm not feeling so good, but I'm going to see what the morning brings. Okay. I mean, you know how far that goes for me? Like, I'm like, okay, I got the drift. Like I'll start calling or texting like two or three other people and just be like, hey, what's going on tomorrow? You got something? They're like, oh, I'm available. Just let me know. I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna keep you penciled in. So keep your phone on or whatever. I'll call you or you know what I mean? But like when it's 10 minutes and now you're doing the scramble or now you got to call the customer and you got to be like, I'm like, I guess I'm going to be there, but all I'm going to do is like just build doors. I can't stack them because I don't have the right, I don't have a helper. Um, and those things all can get and then things compound, right? Because now it's taking longer. So that's why, like for me, I can't tell you. I would I would literally probably cry if I knew how many hours and weekends. I mean, there's been even there's been so many even. It's kind of personal. Um, Hunting, let's say hunting with my dad, right? That I missed out on. Um, Times that I'm like, I'm gonna make this happen. I'm gonna make this happen. And I get up there and things are blowing up. Or I got a job that it just went to bananas and I gotta, you know what I mean? I gotta get this done. I gotta do it. The weather's good. The weather's this, that, whatever. I gotta keep rolling. And you start looking at that stuff too, and you start realizing like, dude, that's missed, like that's gone. That year's gone. You know what I mean? Like that's, something that I can't recoup back. And so that's why I try to, tell the kind of the younger guys and stuff like that, think about what you're doing. You know what I mean? Think about what you're getting into because I think about when I was a kid, right? And I was pushing that lawnmower. I seen that truck driver, right? I thought, oh man, I just, how it was. Like I was just, oh God, if I could drive a semi truck, I would be the man. And I remember walking up to him, and he was turning around and he was looking for directions or something like that. And I was like, dude, what's it like driving a semi truck? And he says, well, he goes, I'll tell you one thing. He goes, once it's in your blood, he says, it's hard to get rid of it. And I thought, oh yeah, I'm going to do it. And I got my CDL and stuff, but it's like, I think that's why when you're young, you have to think about it. You know what I mean? Like think about what you're going, because that path is going to probably carry on to some degree, right? We all kind of stay in that path of direction, right? If you're kind of a laborer or you're kind of a construction guy, maybe you're doing roofing, but maybe you're doing framing. Maybe you've always been around the housing stuff, right? And it's not to say good or bad. We all can't be attorneys, I'm sure as heck not one. And but it's just when I look at it and I went, wow, all the headache I went through, like I don't know if I would do it. I might look at something I don't think there's something out there that's 100% passive, but I think there's stuff that doesn't like I keep thinking about the realtors, right? What do realtors really do? I'm not saying they don't, you know what I mean? But they come with paperwork, they got emails, right? They're all clean, right? But here we are, we got to bring the tools, we got to bring the truck, we got the government pounding down our doors that they want us to drive electric vehicles. And we're like, well, how's that going to work when I got all these service calls or blah, 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 and they're catching on fire? You know what I mean? Like you got all these things and it's just, and then you got to go out and deal with all that traffic. Like I feel really bad for some of you guys, like, especially if you're dealing with those, like when I was in Arizona, I kept thinking, oh my gosh, the traffic's just jammed, man. We're not moving. And I just thought, I ain't getting paid to be sitting here in a truck. My money's at the customer, you know what I mean? And if I can get more customers, but that's not in my control, right? I can't do that. Well, I can raise my prices, but well, then what if I lose my customers? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but I can't control the traffic. So it's like, okay, but like that's why if maybe you switched it around a little bit, right? And you started selling a product, right? Maybe you just turn into you're selling the product out of your shop. Maybe you got a nice shop or a good location. And now they come to you. So now when you get that phone call, because there's going to be problems, right? And somebody's a knucklehead, or they don't know what they're doing, or they slam the trolley into the opener, and you're going, oh yeah, you're going, oh, I'm really sorry to hear about that, Johnny. Well, the best I can do is, why don't you bring that in? Bring that in, and I'll exchange it for you. Mm-hmm. All right, do that for me. All right. Boom, boom, boom. You know what just happened? You don't. He's going to have to deal with all. He's got to package up. He's got to talk to the customer. He's got to blah 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 blah. Right? Sure, you got to figure out what you're going to do with it. Right? You might lose it. Right? But you don't have all that time. Right? You can take another phone call. You can sell another product out the door. You know what I'm saying? Do you see where I'm going with this? Kind of like you can combat, you can do more things but if you're out there, right? Let's say you're out way out. It's like, I always use this example, right? I always told myself, I said, somebody's got a broken spring in California. I'm in Michigan. What would you do in that situation? Well, I'm going to go out there. Dude, you know how much time for a spring that's 2, 3? I don't even care if it's like the one guy, that training school guy that charges like $1,200 or something. He says, I make $1,200. I'm like, jeez. I'm like, okay, but what are you paying for gas and everything else or something, man? Dude, $1,200 is a lot of money. But if I still even went out there for 1,200 or 1,500 or 2,000, you'd say you're stupid, right? Because all the time, the gas, like you have to think about that in business of what you're doing. It's the same kind of concept. It's just a little bit, it's a smaller, so if it takes you still, instead of a job being 30 minutes, now it's an hour, and you just kind of go, oh, no big deal. You know what I mean? It's no big deal. It's no big deal. It is a big deal. It starts adding up, especially if you don't charge for it. And then if you do charge for it, did you get paid right away? Do you got to track this customer down? Do you got to hound them? So it's just all these little games that you got to play. So I've just learned I don't like to be out a lot. So I'd rather just be local, focused more, local, advertising, whatever you got to do. The end of taking days off. So does work. And go replacing. Yes. Okay. It says you're not wrong, Roy, but even when I worked for a company, I was always thinking it was my name on the job. Ooh, Mr. Tanner. I like that. Roy and Tanner got some good stuff going. And he's right with that. And install, you may not have your neck out on the product equipment, but if you don't, that's true. So I think this is what happened, right? One of my good here in Michigan, he's actually the biggest LiftMaster distributor, and I'm about positive. See, his dad started out as a service technician, and he basically said he's seen his dad work so many long hours and all this stuff, right? He was starting a business, right? He had to grow this thing, man. It's a garden, right? You got to take care of it 24/7, man. Rain, snow, shine, whatever, man. You got to tend to this thing. And then when he kind of took it over, he decided that, it's like, I'm not going to do the installs anymore. I'm going to sell product. And he's got one heck of a business, beautiful location, clean, very organized, super proud of him. I mean, it's awesome. But I look at that and I go, he can do that because, and he's the gentleman, right? Now he has a son, and the son works in the front office. I think the son's wife now works in the front office. You know what I mean? So it's more manageable, right? I always tell my buddy that he ran a truck accessory. He's a good dude. And I said, look, I said, dude, I said, your business is a lot easier. He's like, why do you say that? I got to have employees. I got, and I said, because I said, look, I said, everything is under surveillance. I said, yes, you still have people come into your house, right? And they could steal things and, all this can happen, right? But you don't have guys that are out in service trucks that are out doing donuts in parking lots or out there, doing stuff, throwing stuff in garbage cans or dumpsters they shouldn't be doing, peeing in people's cups, and leaving them in the garage. So there's these layers, there's layers. And like I said, everything's got problems. There's no doubt about it. But it's just, like I said, when you start talking about man doors, I go, ugh, that's just not me. Doesn't mean it's not for you. It's just not for me. So you just have to figure out what works. But it's, where is this long term? Like I always kind of try to go, you got to look a little bit farther down the road and think about like, am I doing this? See, I think some guys, I had a lot of guys that came in and I think they would come in and they'd look at me and they would think, they'd automatically go with, I want what Dave has. Right. That's what they always, oh my gosh, man, look at the building, man, look at the wife, look at the kids, look at the vehicles. Wow. Wow. And it's like, yeah, dude, wow doesn't happen in 24 hours. You know what I mean? Like this didn't just happen overnight. I've been doing this for how many years? And the thing is that you don't understand that for most of my life, right, as a kid and growing up, I was working 3 jobs. So it wasn't just one thing that made all this happen. It was that V8 cylinder, you know what I mean, that I was only on 6 cylinders, and then eventually the other 2 kicked in and I was on a V8, you know what I mean? And so people don't see that sometimes. They just come in and they look and they go, "Oh my gosh, you got all this product, you got nice vehicles, you got this, you got that. You must be doing really good." And I always think about it where um I think there's that saying when you say, must be nice or like I try not to say that, right? Like when I see guys with really nice cars, like I don't ever have that attitude and I go, "Oh, must be nice." No, because if anything, I want to go over there and talk to that dude and I want to ask him, be like, "So what would this cost you?" And I'm not talking about money. Like, what'd this cost you? What kind of headaches? Because see, like everything like is like is you're going to the top of the pyramid and it's a lot more headaches. It's a lot more sacrifices. You know what I mean? What was it like in Avengers or whatever, right? That what was it, the Soul Stone or whatever it was, you have to give something, and that's like what business is. You have to give something. What are you gonna give? You're gonna you're gonna give the time with the kids, you're gonna give time with your dad on hunting trips, you're gonna give time with, not drinking and playing video games. What are you gonna give? That's what it comes down to. You know what I mean? I'm not hanging out at the bars. I'm not playing the video games. I mean, my nose is in a book. I'm reading, I'm learning, I'm doing all these other things. You know what I mean? And even to this day, I'm still, like I said, what is it? 11:30 at night, right? I don't have to be on here. I like being on here, but that's just me though. I like doing things. You know what I mean? I like being active. I like learning and talking to other people and being around. And that's really hard, right? And I need to do even myself. I need to do that more, right? I need to be surround myself with more like-minded or people that are better. I always tell the wife all the time, like, kind of where I live is very middle class, maybe lower. And I told her, I said, I get sick of sometimes. I said, I go into places and I said, I feel like I'm the best dressed person, man. I said, I want to go in places where I said, I feel like Joe Dirt. And I said, I go, man, I got to up my standard. Dang, dang. You know what I mean? Like, but sometimes it's not that way that much, and it's like, it gets kind of old, where it's like, I want people that are better than me. You know what I mean? Cause then I'm their sparkles are going to come down to me. Cause I'm going to sit there and go, well, how you doing that? Well, I didn't know that. Well, I'll be darned. And I hope that I can bless other people in the same regard. You know what I mean? With experience or knowledge, or they ask me a question, I go, I know. Because we've all had it. We've all had something in our life that our uncle or a father or a mother or grandparent or some random person on YouTube or whatever, a neighbor that's told us something that we're like, holy crap, I've been doing it all wrong my life. You know what I mean? Like they just told me this one thing and now I know how to do it. Like eureka, pretty cool. I got a furry cat. This cat wants to sit in front of me. I'm about ready to put her on camera here. She's being feisty too. I think this cat's upset at me. She's like, I won't let her come in front of me. Oh man. I always said, what it says, Mr. Rich. Mr. Rich is still here. I seen you wave. I didn't say hi, I don't think. So Mr. Rich, it's always good to see. I always said, I think you're doing a good job, or your lunch or breakfast makes you feel appreciated. I think it's kind of weird because that reminds me of something. I remember the guy that runs the shop now, Cap, I call him. And I remember I'd take him down just once in a blue moon or something. Like we go down, and I had this one place before I got bought out by another company and stuff. And we have lunch, and we go in there, and he always tells me, he goes, "Hey man," he goes, "I know we come down here." He says, "This is where we fire people." And he goes, "Is there something you need to tell me?" No, man. I said, "Sit down." I said, "We're just gonna have lunch, shoot the crap." He's a really good dude. I can't tell you how far, and I didn't know this, you know what I mean? Like I had to learn this through a school of hard knocks, but honesty, honesty is the most valuable thing. Being trustworthy, being truthful, not backstabbing you, not doing stuff behind, closed doors. It takes you so much farther. You know what I mean? I had two guys that were kind of like the lead that was going to take over, and one guy just threw it away. I mean, he just threw it away. Started taking stuff, doing stuff he shouldn't be doing, and it was sad because he wasn't even there as long as Cap, and Cap was just a guy that just, dude. I mean, like nothing ever smelled funny. I could never find nothing that smelled funny on this guy. Like, I mean, the guy would ask, like, "Hey, is it okay if I go to the Secretary of State today?" Dude, you don't need to ask. Just go. I mean, we believe in you. We trust in you. Don't even ask. And then, using a vehicle, anything you could imagine. Hey, is it okay if I borrow a trailer to haul a motorcycle or something? Go for it. Don't ask. You know where the keys are at. You know what to do. See ya. That's what I like to be around. I like to be around people that I could trust my life. Actually, Cap was the one that took me in. If you guys ever watched some of my older videos, when I cut my knee open, yeah, when I walked in there, and I'm like, I effed up. I effed up. Get off the phone right now. And he's looking on the phone. He's like, what? Are you serious? And I'm like, look down. He's like, all the blood's coming out of my knee. And he's like, he's telling the guy, he's like, no, I really got to go. Oh, man. Good times. Good times. That was stupid, cutting your knee open with a skill saw. Oh. Yeah. It says, take pride in your work or treat your company's customers the way you'd want to be treated. Man, isn't that the truth? Or do the job that you would want done. Yes. Yep. I've always been a big thing on that, where that's why I've never really pressured the guys. I always would tell them, and it's kind of weird. You got to play these mind games a little bit. You don't want to, but you almost have to. But I'd almost give them like one service call, and I'd tell them, even though I knew I was going to probably have them do two or three for the whole day, I'd just tell them the one service call, right? Or whatever they're doing. I said, just go do the service call and give me a call when you're done. And they'd be like, well, is that all I got? Is that all I got today? Like they'd almost have like this panic of like, is that all I got? Like, am I going to be out of a job? Like, do I get to go home? Like, what do I do? And I'm like, don't worry about it. Like, I'll like, just, I don't know if something's not set in stone yet. Just call me, which nothing ever it is. And I literally had a guy that did work for me that guy would melt. Like he'd come in the next day and he already had a plan. what we was kind of go, and then you know how it is at 7 o'clock in the morning, whatever, 7:30, right? Phone call, comes in from a commercial customer, whatever. Hey man, door's crooked, high low hit it, whatever. Like, can you get somebody out here? And they're like, oh my god, yes. And I tell them, I say, look, I need you to either come with me or help whoever, or go out there solo, whatever it is, and I mean, the guy would just, what, what? And I'm like, dude, look, I don't want to ask this, but I'm kind of strapped right now. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the secretary, so somebody's got to answer the phone. I still got my own service calls. I still got to go take care of this. Like, and he just melts. And so you just, and I'd always tell him, I say, look, which I always felt was kind of weird to say, but I always tell him, I say, like, do it like it was your own. Do it like it was your grandmother's. And sometimes that worked and sometimes it didn't, because some people didn't have that good expertise. So they'd kind of be like, I did it, especially the green ones. Um, but most time I had pretty decent guys that would do a good job, but I didn't ever want to pressure them. I didn't want to put that time onto them. So I always made sure I just didn't put time on it, because I didn't want them to ever come back to me and go, well, you only told me I had 2 hours. So that's why I only put the screws, I put a couple screws and not all the screws, because you only told me. Nope, that's not true. Nope. I told you when you were finished to call me and I would address it from there. So it's just one of those things that I never like to put time. Word of mouth. What does this say? Take pride. Yep. Word of mouth, and the company still might not appreciate you. Kind of what happened to me. Got burned 12 years ago and went out on my own and never looked back. Yeah, you don't know. I mean, and that's the thing, is you gotta always kind of like you gotta remember, like, like, most people don't forget. So you always got to remember that you got to, like, you got to deal with this person again, maybe in the future, right? This person might hire you at a job, you know what I mean? And they'd be like, here's a perfect example. This is a good one. I, when I cut my leg open, right, my knee with a skill saw, which was really stupid, we go into the hospital, right? And they're building a new hospital. So I had them bring me to the new hospital that was pretty much done. I wouldn't go to one that's under construction, but it was pretty much done as far as I knew. So I go in there, right? They tell me that we have to go down to the other hospital, the old hospital, because they don't do surgery there. So we go down to the old hospital, right? I'm going to speed this up a little bit. And we go in there, right? And this lady's asking me, these questions and stuff, and she's they ultimately like ask you this question, like, well, what do you do? What do you do for a living? And I'm like, oh, I do garage doors. And the lady's like, oh, really? And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, what's the company's name? And I said, oh, it's, Affordable Door and Gate. And she's like, really? She goes, actually, I just had you guys come out. Now, mind you, when this happened, I don't go out in the field very much. And so I'm like, oh, oh my gosh, she had us out there. And I'm thinking to myself, huh, did we do a good job? Oh my gosh, I hope we did a good job. Please, Lord, tell me we did a good job, because I need this person and this doctor and that. I need them to fix my leg. It's wide open. And so I start kind of spilling out, well, I hope they did a good job. I mean, it's hard to find good help these days, and she's like, oh yeah, they fixed it up, blah, 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 and I'm thinking, is she lying to me? Am I already under sedation? Am I already drugged? Is she lying to me? Well, then I go into the room, and the doctor, they kind of have their conversation. They're getting syringes and stuff ready to put me under, and surgery and everything. And she's, they're asking these questions. Oh, so what's he do? Or what do you do? I'm on the table and to putting a mask on me, count backwards, they're gassing me basically. And I'm like, oh, I do. Oh, really? And I got some daughters and stuff. And and I'm just like, all I kept thinking as I'm watching my life go away, as I'm falling asleep, I'm thinking, oh my, I'm going to wake up and they're going to like cut my leg off. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah, we determined that we were going to chop that puppy off, Remember how you did a really crappy job on my garage door? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I don't care. I don't care. It wasn't you, but it was your company. Yeah. So we chopped your leg off. I mean, these are the things that happen, man. So it's you as a person, as an individual, as everything, you want to be a stand-up person. You know what I mean? And I always looked at it like in the business, I never tried to force anybody's hands to, hey man, like go in there and do this or manipulate or, like you're kind of on your own. You know what I mean? Like you got my blessings, you got my support, you know what I mean? But you're a big boy and go handle it. You know what I mean? And if you start screwing up enough, we're going to have a conversation and we're going to start trying to address this or fix this. And then it's going to go so far that if, you just can't fix stupid, then we're going to have to go a different way. You know what I mean? And so, um, it says crossroads deal with the devil. I know Cap, he just had, you guys seen the video where he took off the one guy, he took off the metal, and I talked to him a little bit about it and he said, he goes, I just, he screwed up so bad. And I said, you probably did the right thing. I said, by letting him go, I said, because I would, and he said, I felt so bad because of the holidays. And I said, I don't know quite what they figured out. They were talking about maybe paying him, which was options into that, but he screwed up so bad that was going to cost so much money. And I found out like some other stuff, that he was doing, possibly like deliberately like peeing on like the outside of a toilet. Like, okay, like that's just no, 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 you don't do that. You know what I mean? Like almost like dirty farmer. You know what I mean? That's all I think of. Like sometimes, not all. I mean, farmers, there's a lot of good farmers. Don't get me wrong, but just piggish, just being a pig, and you can't just, man, you can't do that stuff. And especially when you got a phone, I mean, you got to make phone calls and say, hey, I'm in a pickle here. Common sense. That's my area. We are 10 to 15 from Iowa Great Lakes. Oh yeah. That I grew up. And now as most our work ooh, we just put doors in a nice, great people. Yeah, I like, I don't mind some of the bigger jobs, like when we do some on like Lake Michigan. I don't think we've been on a 6 million, but we've been on, 1 to 2 million. And for the most part, the people are pretty, I was I was talking about this like or maybe I was thinking about this, and I just didn't get to it. I was thinking about it like when you think about like commercial, people are kind of weeded out, in a sense, because if they can't perform, right? Like you're not going to have a 95-year-old foreman in there typically, right? You're going to have a middle-aged, a little bit older type foreman type guy, somebody that knows the stuff, right? You get filtered out. So you don't have to deal with, and when you deal with sometimes like not always, some of the bigger houses and stuff, you're dealing with like better contractors. Typically you're dealing with somebody that's got more, the knowledge. Things can just, sometimes it can be a little better. You know what I mean? It's just, it's like that whole thing with, money, money doesn't solve everything, but would you rather be broke or would you rather be rich? Well, I'd be rich. So, I mean, it's just kind of like, I'd rather be around wealthier and take my chances, which I know some of them can be pricks and stuff, and they can be real picky and all this other stuff, but I still kind of rather be around them than the really broke to broke person that I got to hear about. I only get my fixed income and, and this whole sob story. And I sit there and I just go, yeah, well, I got a truck payment and I got kids to feed and those little boogers are heavy and are hungry and I got to buy diapers and, and I got to put a roof on my house and I got to buy a new lawnmower and, my tire fell off my truck yesterday, my personal truck. And now like, what I mean? Like I'd just rather not deal with that. I mean, I don't need to hear your sob story. You want to hear my sob story? Let's just say down to earth, but I'm boot and jeans as well dressed for me. I really don't care what other people think. That's not bad. That's kind of how, Tanner, I think you're right. Cause that's kind of how I am now in a sense. I mean, I still do certain things. Like we got our one customers now. I gotta put high vis and all that stuff on, but I think you can actually, I'm a person about the universe. I'm a person about the energy, right? I think we all have energy and in every one of you have energy. And I think we can all feel it, right? When somebody walks into the room and they hold their self, right? And they look up in their eyes and their soul, and they shake your hand, they say hi, they're nice to the kids, all these other things. I think you can own it. Like, so one of our big builders that does a lot of commercial. I mean, the dude can walk. I mean, he just owns it. Like when he pulls up, he hops out of that thing. And I mean, he'll just, and I mean, it's like he's just a force of energy, and he's not wearing one piece of apparel for the company that he represents. He's driving a minivan, and it's not all beat up or anything. It's a nice minivan, right? But it's just a minivan. Like I'm like, that's a soccer like, and this dude can just get things. And I guess the reason I think about it is I worked for him, right? And then I had this one-off guy, right? We had this beer company that their building caught on fire, and I don't know if I have any pictures of it. If I do, I'm gonna make a video about it. But I literally took a commercial door. It was, I think it's 16 wide by, it's either, I think it's 14 tall. Anyways, this building caught on fire. The door, the panels all got ruined on one side, right? But the other half was all right. They got the fire out. A transformer outside the building caught on fire. I think that's what happened. And this guy calls me, right? And I missed my Christmas Eve with my family. I was really bummed about that. And so we go out there, me and Cap, and I cut this door in half because there's 2 springs, right? Or 4 springs total, I think. Or just maybe 2. I can't remember. But anyways, I'm thinking, oh, one spring does one side. All I got to do is basically end caps, whatever. I can move this thing. I can make this door work. And it was a really long building, so they had to bring semis in, and it would have been a real bear for them to back them out. So I made it just a one stall for the semis to come in. I mean, we spent a lot of time on it, and I made it happen. Right? I cut down this door. I mean, I made it work. And this guy, I kept hearing this guy ramble, and this guy drove a minivan at the time too. His was beat up though, and he's a bigger dude, we just did not click, man. And all of a sudden, he's telling me, "You guys can't leave," and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I said, "Look," I said, "we got the door up and running." I said, "We're not your sheet metal guys." I said, "We're not your plywood guys." I said, "We're leaving." I said, "We need to go home and get some sleep." I said, "We can come back tomorrow." I said, and address a few things, but I said, "Look, the building's secure. That's on you. You told me already like 2 hours ago, you're going to have somebody come do plywood. You got some guys coming to do sheet metal. And all I see is like these kids, man. They're like teenage kids that are here, and they're just walking around. They got this crappy attitude, like nothing's clicking." And I kept thinking, if my other builder guy was here, dude, I mean, this guy snaps and things happen. And I really respect him for it. I mean, a lot of people respect him, and he just gets stuff done, man. And he's just got this persona. And I think I have that now too, to some degree. I don't know if I'd have it if I went to another state, honestly, but I have it where I have it here, where like I can go into things and people just know. And it's like you almost have like this attitude, like you're like, I don't even give a rat's. Like, do you want it fixed? If you want it fixed and you want it fixed right, I'll get it done for you. But you can do that with experience, but when you take these young kids and stuff like that, you can't do that. Cause I look at those security guys, right? And if I see them in street clothes, and I'm like, you don't even have like no respect for them. They're all slumpy looking. They're at the Subway getting something to eat or something. And you're like, dude, this dude, he's got his hair down now. He's got curly hair, whatever. It's like, this dude looks like some punk. Like where's your skateboard, kid? But when he's in uniform, right? He's a security guard or something at the mall, right? And he's got that hat on. Holy crap. Yes, sir. What's going on? What do you need? And so but you just know, right? You just know when certain people walk up or something, you go, there's something about this person. They got something, man. And that's just years of, I think, says, you're not wrong. What does it say? Down to earth, but what does it say? You're not wrong, but it says it's harder for a rich man to enter the gates. Oh, yes, yes. Than to, yes, throw the eye of the needle. Yes. That is true. That is true. Unfortunately, that money though, I agree. It makes life a lot easier though. I can tell you that. Unfortunately, the system that we live in, I was telling one of the kids the other day, she said something about, why do we got to use money? And I said, well, let me give you this washer. I said, here's a washer, little round washer. I said, take this in there. And I said, and tell them, I said, here, you want to give them this washer to buy a pop? She goes, well, they ain't gonna do that. I said, unfortunately, I said, that's the system we live in. I said, they believe in it. I said, they even know that washer. I mean, I don't know what the video was, but there was a video a while back. A guy was handing out like a gold coin, right? And he said, here, I'll give you, $20 or I'll give you this gold coin. And I mean, how ignorant people are. They go, well, I'll take the 20. And he's like, are you sure? And he had a coin store right behind him. He says, we can go in there and we can see what the coin appraises for if you want. Oh, no, no. I'll just take the $20. Right. Because they're so believed in the $20, but they don't even know that this gold coin is worth, I forget what he told, it was 2,000 or 3,000, 5,000. I don't know what it was. It was a heck of a lot more than $20. But people looked at the gold coin. They're like, I'll take $20. Gold coin. I don't know what that is. What was that? Some token? And he's like, well, we can go in the coin store and see if it's real. And they'll tell you, and I'll give it to you. And they were like, no, I'll take 20. And I thought, wow. I mean, maybe it was a stage. I don't know. You know what I mean? But it's just, I think that's kind of the world that we live in where people, unfortunately, it's kind of like, what is it? It's kind of like, I don't know the whole thing. I don't have it all set up in my head, but it's like the whole, like, there's like, God, there's family, like health, and then there's like money. It's pretty close. You know what I mean? Cause like it can buy, it could maybe help your health, so it's really weird how things work. I wish it wasn't that way. Honestly, I wish we, had a lot more things that weren't so entwined like that. It can go pretty deep, you know what I mean? And so instant gratification. That's the world we live in, isn't it? That's what it worries me about some of the stuff that we do in the younger generations. Because that's for me, like I've kind of converted. That's why I do like deal with like the rentals and stuff because my wife can handle it. My wife can't do garage doors. My kids, they do some of this stuff with me and stuff. Um, and it makes money, but I look at it, I need something a little slower. That's a little bit more, um, how do I say it? Manageable, I guess. Like I want options. And sometimes the way the things are going where these people I could have made a lot of money if I would have had a lot of doors when the whole COVID thing happened. You know what I mean? Like if you could have just had a stockpile of all kinds of stuff, you couldn't get the stuff. I was driving all over the state buying new, slightly used stuff to make stuff work. Um, was I charging a little bit more? Yeah. But was it really probably worth it? No, probably not. I mean, with all the time I had, I mean, all I was doing was I was fulfilling a a void for the builders or for a customer, you know what I mean? Because we had just stuff happen, man. People were smashed into something, and it's like the problem was for me, I was stuck. I was like, oh my gosh, if I board this thing up, I got to tear all this crap back down. So it's like, let me try to find a solution. You know what I mean? So I was building doors in the garage, and it was not fun. It definitely made me tougher. I mean, I learned some stuff. I know how to fabricate a little bit more on the garage doors, but it's definitely a tough road. And then, nobody sees that stuff. Right. And then when you come out there and you say, well, it's going to be this, and they're like, well, why is it so much? Well, you don't understand. I just spent 3, 4, 6 hours fabricating this thing. You know what I mean? Like you can't even find this, and it was such a mess, wasn't it? Oh man. So Tanner, I enjoy you. I do enjoy you a lot. Should meet up sometime. Roy, I appreciate it. Mr. Rich B, man, he always makes me laugh. I'd love to sit around a table with you guys. That's for sure. A lot of you guys, Mark, I appreciate it. But I think I'm gonna hop off here. Like I said, probably should get a little shut eye before the sun rises, which these days are killing me, man. With the early nights, it's like every time it gets dark, I'm like, yep, it's 10 o'clock, right? Time to go to bed. Nope. It's only like 5:36. And I'm like, crap. As I said, remember that video you had to put insulation? Oh man. I'm glad you remember that. Like you said, I remember doing that. I wasn't gonna make a video. I was really kind of irritated. I'm sitting there like fighting the stuff. And I'm like, this is stupid, And I was like, I could maybe help somebody because insulation, vinyl backs, like that's why like I still to this day, I still believe in the business. I know the other parties in the business. I don't really believe that for whatever reason, what I mean? But they still probably sell vinyl back doors. But I'm like, I hate vinyl back doors, man. I'm like, I rather just either it's non-insulated or it's insulated. I ain't dealing with no stupid vinyl back door because they just for the price, it's not even worth it to me. They get splattered a little bit. It's just one little thing takes to nick them and they get a hole in them. And then it's like, what do I do now? What do I do now that's got a hole in it? Like, do I put a sticker over it and get called out for that? Do I, I got to go find this, and everyone's got different thicknesses and stuff. And sometimes you can maybe find them at Menards, maybe, and not always. And then is it going to match? Do you got to change them all out? How picky is the customer? Like I said, my mom taught me from a young age, right? My mom, when she was buying a brand new car, right, it had a scratch in it. And the car dealer guy he goes, oh, we'll fix that for you. And she goes, oh, no, no. She goes, I want a brand new car. I don't want a car that's been repaired or, had a scratch fixed. I want a whole brand new car. And that always sat in my brain where I always told myself, like, I'm waiting for that customer that one day they go, I don't want you to touch up this door. I want a whole new door. And I've had people kind of call me out. I had to put sections in, and I've had sections too that maybe the paint was off a little bit. And you're sitting there like, doesn't match, hopefully the sun don't come on this side, like, oh man, no shame in going. If there is cold. Yeah, man, that's funny. Oh man. So, sticker. That's what I did that one time, man. That guy peeled that off. I couldn't believe that customer peeled it off, took a picture and sent it to Lowe's and busted my ass on it. I was so mad. So, anywho, you guys, I'm out. I got this cat right here. Oh, see if you'll be nice. This kitty cat right here wants my attention. Oh, now you don't want my attention? But it's just sitting here very patiently, like it's time to go. It's time to go to bed, and it's time for you to lay on me. Or, well, she lays on me, I guess. So, all right, guys, I'm out. We'll see you. Thanks for being here.